So in this session, we are reviewing letter 9 to 12 of the 38 letters by John D. Rockefeller to his son. First thing that stood out for me is never interrupt a winning machine to celebrate a small victory. In letter 9, Rockefeller warned his son not to get sentimental with short-term success. If it works, scale it, don't worship it. He taught him to view momentum more like a lever, not a trophy. While other people threw parties for hitting targets, Rockefeller reinvested and multiplied. You see, success wasn't the finish line, it was the fuel for Rockefeller. If it's working, don't pause and celebrate. Double down before the window closes. Reputation takes 20 years to build and 5 seconds to crash. Rockefeller reminded his son frequently that his character is his credit. He reminded him that business partners don't audit your heart, they audit your name. One lie, one shortcut, one cheap deal, and the empire gets disqualified because your name, your reputation, either compounds or collapses. We got to protect our names, our reputation, as if our net worth depends on it, because it actually does. If you're bored, then you're losing. In his 10th letter to his son, John D. Rockefeller reframes boredom as a sign of mental weakness. A sharp mind finds depth in repetition. He explained that mastery comes from finding new angles inside old routines. Bored men crave change, but powerful men extract power from precision. While others continuously switched lanes, he dominated one field permanently and completely. In a nutshell, don't seek variety. Seek mastery so deep that other people think you're lucky. I strive to outperform people so quietly that they have to ask you whether or not you're still in the game. And by the time they wipe the shit out of their eyes, then I've taken over. In his 10th letter to his son, John D. Rockefeller made it clear that noise attracts enemies, but working in silence builds empires. You see, he trained his son to play private chess instead of public poker. He made it look like he disappeared right before he bought the entire block. And what I take from some of this wisdom is that one should move so smart that people call it luck. Move so silent that they call it magic. Your habits or your business partners. Letter 11 to his son, John D. Rockefeller, didn't explain economics. He explained rituals. He explained that what you do daily, you delegate to fate. He designed habits that guaranteed output even on bad days. He didn't trust mood, weather, or motivation. He trusted systematic self-discipline. Now, if once the richest man in the world does this, or did this, why are we not trying to replicate that? You don't need more motivation. You need habits that make your excuses irrelevant. When other people seek excitement, seek efficiency. Rockefeller warned his son about chasing adrenaline. Excitement is expensive, efficiency is exponential. He built processes that ran with or without him. No chaos, no stress, just calm, crushing results. While other people burned out in sprints, he compounded in stillness. He ran marathons, not sprints. And this just tells me again that power isn't loud. Power is quiet repetition over and over again every single day with zero drag. If it's worth doing, then it's worth tracking. Letter 12 to his son was clinical. Rockefeller insisted on measuring everything. Costs, hours, outcomes, not for control, but for calibration. He said, you cannot improve what you tolerate blindly. The crumbling of every single empire starts by ignoring small leaks. Rockefeller tracked everything, that's why he lost nothing. We gotta measure everything, especially in business. If you want success in any area of your life, you gotta measure and you gotta track the data, because what gets ignored always becomes expensive. Don't defend your decisions, upgrade them. Rockefeller wasn't afraid to reverse fast. He taught his son that mistakes don't kill you, but pride does. In letter 9, he spoke to his son about shutting down a division that was once his favorite. And he didn't do it with any emotion, he did it with data. You don't need to be right, you need to evolve faster than the fallout. Buy time, lease out risk, and own the upside. In his 11th letter to his son, Rockefeller zoned in on strategy. Rockefeller used partnerships not for help, but for hedging. He said every deal should increase your time, reduce your liability, and raise your ceiling. He outsourced what wasn't core, and he locked in the rewards. And once again, you can see this man had a mind for chess. because this wasn't delegation, it was warfare. Your empire grows in direct proportion to how much downside you can offload. Trust is your greatest interest-bearing asset. Trust is what made John D. Rockefeller untouchable. He actually wrote, when they trust you, they give you deals before they give you documents. And he taught his son to build trust so thick that contracts were just paperwork. In a world where everybody's chasing followers nowadays, why don't we go and chase reliability? Have a reputation for leaving things better than we found them. A reputation for showing up. When I shake your hand, I give you my word, you know that it's worth $1 million, or it's better than a contract. If people trust you, they'll overpay you. If they don't trust you, then you're just another bid. Let others chase ego. You chase equity. Letter 12 ends on a dagger. Rockefeller warned his son never to confuse praise with ownership. He didn't care who got credit. He cared who got paid. While other people showed off on job titles, he quietly signed equity clauses. Ownership over optics, always. And we got to be very careful. If an applause excites you more than equity, then you're already broke in the head. Don't let your ego catch you off guard and steal something from you. We chase equity, not the ego. Be blessed.